Hello and welcome to the fifth and final part in this new Super Mario retrospective supported by patrons such as Amanda Guth, Abby Knutson, Ann Ross, and Anthony Combs. If you have not seen the previous parts, there will be a link to a complete playlist in the description. Otherwise, welcome back, and let's finish this. The Wii U didn't sell well, New Super Mario Bros. U didn't sell well, relatively speaking at least. It is the third best-selling game on the Wii U, but it only sold a sixth of what Mario Bros. DS and Wii sold. So why Nintendo decided to sell DLC for a game that didn't do well on a console that didn't do well is beyond me. It didn't receive much fanfare or sell a whole lot as you would expect, even though it later had a physical release and everything. I don't know anyone in person that has ever played this thing, even among my friends that had a Wii U. So going into this, I really didn't know what to expect. I popped it in, my friend and I sat down and played it, and mind my hyperbole here, but holy cow! This one was astonishingly so damn good! I couldn't believe it! My friends couldn't believe it! We were constantly laughing, constantly being surprised by a new Super Mario game. It's actually challenging, the levels are memorable, the multiplayer didn't make me want to kill the person next to me, the new gimmicks make you play it differently. It's a pretty dang well thought out game. It's just good. What the hell is going on here? Luigi U? The worst performing entry in the entire series. Really? This is the one that changed my mind. This is the good one. Where do I even start? The beginning, probably. Okay. We have the same exact opening as the previous game. Bowser grabs our cast of characters and throws them out of the castle. The only difference? Mario isn't there. Instead, there is just his hat. Cue all the overly dramatic game theories on how Mario is dead or something. Your goal is still to save Princess Peach, which was a horribly missed opportunity to use Daisy instead. After the intro, you are thrown into the overworld, and that's when you notice, wait a second, this is the same exact overworld as Mario U. At first glance, it might be tempting to call Luigi U the laziest of the new Super Mario Bros. Games. Stating that is probably, half true. It reuses the same music, assets, bosses, and even overworld as the standard Mario U. That being said, Luigi U is similar to NSMB 2, in the sense that it was given an inch and it takes it a mile. Luigi U has just been a handful of changes and designs the entire game around them, the most notable of which being Luigi himself and the minuscule timer. Starting with Luigi, unlike in Mario U, he controls much differently than his older brother. He is significantly floatier and performs much higher jumps. This alone would be enough to make the game have an entirely different feel. But the second biggest change, you will be hearing that in each and every level throughout your adventure. In each and every level, you are given exactly 100 seconds to reach a flagpole, incentivizing you to speedrun your way through this adventure more so than ever before. A slight difference is that Luigi U doesn't use schmeckens, unlike the rest of the series. The other Mario games may have timers, but they count down faster than a real timer would. What this means is that 100 seconds in the other games is approximately 1 minute, whereas here in Luigi U, it is genuinely 1 minute and 40 seconds. But to be completely honest, I think I would have preferred the original timer speed. I love how these levels incentivize you to run through them, but I would complete some of these with a whole minute to spare. In other words, I would have personally liked a bit more pressure. In any case, the stress is still there, in a good way. Constant speed, constant energy. I swear Luigi U was designed to cater to people with extremely short attention spans. So yeah, Luigi U was designed for me. Luigi U is also the very first game in the series to add a character that actually behaves differently. Nabbit. Yes, you can indeed play as that little butthole from before. He is a really unique addition. His catch is that he can't be killed by enemies, but alternatively, he doesn't have any power-up transformations. If you try to pick up a power-up as Nabbit, he will just put it in his bag, which is a great way to rack up some lives, because every item you nab as Nabbit will be converted into a life at the end of the stage. And trust me, you're going to need those, because Luigi U can get pretty dang hard. Luigi U really really benefits from the addition of Nabbit because it makes the multiplayer manageable, dare I say required, for two reasons. The first being that since Nabbit cannot get hurt by enemies, the path the person playing as Nabbit will take is likely to be much different than the path the person playing as Luigi will take, which obviously will clear up some more space between the players. The second reason being that multiplayer interactions have been reduced, which personally I think is a good thing, because I don't know why picking up and throwing people is added in the first place. You always do it by accident and it leads to someone's death every single time. Nabbit is great because two players would simply not work on these more condensed levels without him. I mean, this basically plays like two-player Meat Boy. So the last thing you want is to constantly be screwing each other over. My friend, Tony, is a complete ass when we play co-op games because he always messes with me. I mean, when we were playing the Wii version, he was doing shit like this. He stole my Yoshi! He didn't even fucking need it! He already had one! Isn't that like one of the 10 commandments or something? Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not hijack another man's Yoshi! But since they removed some of the interactions like being able to pick up and harm other players, we were able to play this game together and have a good time. And if Luigi U can be both incredibly difficult and be good as a multiplayer game, that is a tremendous triumph as far as I'm concerned. I have heard some people complain about the timer despite the entire game being designed around it, but especially for multiplayer. I think this is a good change, because players are more pressured to work together and focus on the levels themselves. All of that stuff is great, but the real reason Luigi U is so dang good is because these are flat out some of the best level designs we've seen in years. Every platform, every coin, every enemy feels like it was deliberately placed, down to the tile. For every NSMB game I covered, I probably remember something around 50% of the stages. Some games less. Being honest, it's hard to remember every last level when most of them in these games are not distinctive in many ways outside of their respective world theme. Luigi U, on the other hand, I think I remember almost every last stage in the entire game. They are all unique, they are all interesting, and they are all fun. So how exactly do these levels feel different? I already established there aren't many new assets. So what could Luigi U possibly do that we have not seen a million times already in the other Mario Bros. Games? A beach level of little ocean huts, a level made out of rainbow walls, a level about Ferris wheels in the sky, Ice Bros making platforms for you by freezing fuzzies, a beach level that start to finish has a bottomless pit without any grass tiles or water pools, a level made up of snake blocks, a gauntlet of creepy staring Easter Island heads that try to push you back, a level where you're in a cloud the whole time, a level made up entirely of ginormous water geysers, a sunny outdoor castle where you're being chased by a giant bullet, a deep jungle level where you try to outclimb toxic rising grape juice. I believe also making this the first ever jungle level with a vertical orientation in all of Mario, and a level that is being created while you play it. All of these are ideas that are completely new to the new Super Mario series. And there is even more I didn't mention. Some might dismiss all of this as being gimmicky, but given how stale things were starting to get for the series, that can hardly be considered a negative. Even a lot of the darker levels are okay. Light Up Lift Tower is a perfect example as to why this is. The dark levels still have much of the stage hidden in darkness, but the sources of light are spread out enough to not hide any of the more crucial elements. Additionally to the great level layouts, items truly do feel useful this time. Many of the stages don't hand out a power-up in the very beginning. Hell, there were a few levels where I didn't get a single power-up at all, even for the ones that do have items right away. Starting with an item still has value because it saves you time you would otherwise be spending in said level trying to scramble for items. In the other games, this obviously wasn't a factor because you weren't always crunching for time. But now that the entire game is designed around time, every second counts. Even something as simple as trying to get an item at the start of a level could potentially mean the difference between losing or beating a stage. All of this to say, your personal overworld item collection has more value than ever before, despite what it may seem on the surface. You can tell the developers really cared about the product they were crafting here. For a lower budget DLC, we still got brand new tile sets and level assets, tons of new level ideas, hidden Luigis. Yeah, to commemorate the year of Luigi, they hid a bunch of little 8-bit Luigis everywhere. Do they do anything? Not at all. It's all just for fun, which to me only further demonstrates they genuinely cared. Honestly, I love when developers add a bunch of little Easter eggs like this. Wow, this all sounds really fantastic so far. Is there anything wrong with Luigi U? I thought of a few things. They don't kill the experience or anything, but they're worth mentioning, to prevent sounding like a massive hypocrite, especially since I really harped on Mario U for this. some of these secrets are still really obscure, to the point where you're just going to need to look some of these up if you want any chance in 100%ing this. And then there's the recycled stuff. Assets I could deal with, since that just seems to be par for the course in this series. Bosses, I think, are the greater issue. We have been fighting the Koopalings in NSMB since Wii, sure, but they could have made them feel at least slightly different than in Mario U. At least they're disposed of pretty quickly thanks to the higher jumping. But yeah, I'm sure there's a sizable amount of people out there who are willing to dismiss Luigi U for not adding any new enemies or power-ups, reusing the overworld, and normally I would be with those people. Although in this specific scenario, I'm willing to give Luigi U a bit of grace for 3 reasons. 1. This game was released digitally at a third of Mario U's retail price since it was DLC. You could even buy it separately as its own standalone game, which is what I have. 2. It's no secret that the Wii U was not exactly the hot seller Nintendo was hoping for. I mean, the Wii U sold roughly half as many units of what the GameCube sold, which, if you remember, was already selling worse than the PS2 and Xbox. Nintendo was not as financially comfortable as they are now with the Switch. I mean, if the best a new Super Mario game can do on this console is a total of 5.7 mil between all countries, they probably weren't willing to give Luigi U the money it needed to truly be something 100% unique, simply because they likely would not see a return on their budget. And 3, for what they had to work with, which is to say, not much in terms of new stuff. They really gave it their all. As showcased, most of the heavy lifting is left to the level design. And again, it's damn good stuff. The best in the entire series, if you ask me. People seem to judge Luigi U in the same way they judge NSMB 2. They determine the value of these games on how much new stuff they added, opposed to how it's actually used. And I think that's unfair, because why are we really playing a Mario game at that point? Whether or not they are sequels, we like to play games that feel like a new experience. And if they are able to accomplish that with the level design alone, well then I don't know about anyone else. But it definitely has my respect for that. As I said before, I was playing New Super Mario Bros. Non-stop for this analysis, so by the time I got to Luigi U, I was so tired of it all, but this video wasn't going to be complete without it, so I toughed it out. Maybe what I'm about to say is because I got so tired of the New Super Mario formula, but damn, in my opinion, New Super Luigi U is easily my favorite in the entire series, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Again, possibly being unfair to the rest of the games here, which are all good, don't get me wrong, but when you play all 5 of these back to back, you will be begging for something even slightly abnormal, and Luigi U is just that. It's super fun, fast-paced, pretty difficult, and fairly creative. Honestly, Luigi U feels like a collection of the best speedrun levels in Mario Maker 2. I don't mean that as a negative either, because these are really well-designed levels. That's it. This is the New Super Mario Bros. Game for me. And it doesn't even have Mario Bros in the title. Are we good now? Have we covered it all? Jeez, this has been one hell of a journey. I suspect you're done with your popcorn by now, if you were, watching this entire retrospective and eating popcorn. So, in conclusion, I still think they all hold up. Each and every New Super Mario game has at least one thing going for it. I have the most respect for the DS entry, given it innovated the most and started the series, not to mention that kick-ass versus mode. The Wii version has the best multiplayer, and even though it has a slow introduction, by the end of the game, things start to get really good. New Super Mario 2 was the one I thought I'd enjoy the least, but its emphasis on coin collection makes for a surprisingly engaging experience. Some people seem dead set on hating this entry the most, and I definitely like it more than others. No secret there. Either way, I think it deserves at least a little more credit for its execution. Mario U has the most polished presentation. I would also say this is the best NSMB game for 2-player if you want a more casual experience. And Luigi U is one hell of a curveball. This is the game you want to play if you want an honest challenge, or even just something a little different. I've told you my personal favorite, but if you're unsure on which game to play, I made a flowchart you can check out for shits and giggles. Links to it in the description. Otherwise, let me know which one you like the most. I am not just saying that either. I genuinely like hearing from you guys. I mean, you listened to me blabber on for who knows how long, so I think it's only fair if I listen to your thoughts as well. Despite how easy it may be to critique this series series of games. It's hard to deny how enjoyable each and every entry is, regardless of the fact they all retread familiar ground. In fact, because of that, in a weird way, I think the new Super Mario series represents the fundamentals of Mario better than any other entry. This series is very unapologetic in what it does. However, for that very reason, they are always a blast to play. So grab some friends and a Wii remote, because you have 8 worlds, a handful of power-ups, and 1 princess in need of rescuing, somewhere in another castle. Hey, thank you so much for watching my retrospective. This was such a huge project for me, so I really hope you enjoyed it. I would like to give a shout out to some of my patrons, such as Abby Knutson, Aiden Ross, Amanda Guth, BlakeDog72, Cashinator, Guardian of Art, Jeffrey Long, John Hancock, Common CJ, Ken Colton, Miles Mann, Victoria Mars, Rami Batter, and Sonic Caddy. Have a great evening, and until next time, have a good one.